61 years. Been a member of Hayes Lodge for 61 years. Been a multiple-time past master. He's a past, most worshipful past master. He's an author of a book on Masonry. And generally, he's a really cool guy. Brother Al Iding. Brother Al, I'm still not done with you yet. Because of your accomplishments in Masonry.
Let me get your...
Your service not only in the Masonry, but just pretty much the society in general, because you have a lot more accomplishments outside of Masonry. You have quite a few stories to tell. Maybe we'll hear some tonight. I'd like to give you the honor of taking the first cut for a centennial cake.
Well,
You
that's
accept.
terrific.
You accept.
And I like the corner because there's more frosting. So you got to give me that corner.
There you go.
There you are.
All right. You will get that cake.
Well, I thank you. I got to watch that frosting. I can only have a limited amount.
Is that doctor's orders?
So, you want me to start? All right.
Brother Al, you have the
But
floor.
I tell you, it's great here. A little difficult. I had to stop it. I live in Dousman now, and so I had to stop and get gas and at that mobile station on Highway 67. And there's a guy smoking a cigarette, filling his arm or his gas tank up. His arm gets on fire. So the coppers come in from Dousman, the coppers. They arrest the guy. Well, in Dousman, it's illegal to have a firearm in a gas station. Okay, I'm at the Three Pillars, which is sponsored by the Masons. And it's really terrific. There's a lot of, the average age is 84. And of course there's a lot of couples. And I get a couple meals a day there, and there's a couple, a husband and a wife, and he gets the meal, and he cuts it in half, and he gives her half, and he keeps half. Well, I watch him. He eats the whole thing, his half, and the lady's just sitting there. And I said, well, why aren't you waiting? Well, what are you waiting for? She says, the teeth. Well, I had a speech planned, then I got the booklet, and all you have to do is read the booklet.
How many pages is that, Al?
So I thought that what I would start out with is the one thing that they didn't cover in the booklet, and that is the name. James M. Hayes Lodge, F and AM. And I'd like to start with the end. The free and accepted Masons. Why are we called free and accepted Masons? Well, there's a lot of theories as to this, where the Masons started. In my view, the best theory is that we became a fraternity around the time of the building of the cathedrals in Europe. And the Masons, in fact, were the stonemasons who built those cathedrals and the castles and what have you. Now, why free accepted Masons? Why are free? Two reasons. One, these men were free to travel from country to country. Back at that time, people were indentured servants, and many of them never went much beyond the land where they were living, and they were really like serfs. And but when they get done with a project, they were free to go from here to here. They had secrets. The big secret they had was geometry. These Masons figured out how you could take a building. I mean, think around the year 1000 AD or so, you had Roman architecture, big, thick walls, big arches. Well, they figured out how to put walls of glass, stained glass, high. How come they didn't fall over? Well, these guys knew how to put flying buttresses to keep those walls from falling down. Think of the Cathedral of Notre Dame, and how beautiful those walls were. Well, the Masons figured out how to do it, and that was their secret. They didn't share it with others. Now, what happened as you move along, do you ever listen to the prayers that the Masons give, and at the end, what do they say? So mote it be. What a funny thing, huh? What a funny thing to say. Well, I'll tell you, in about 1390, there was a book written about the Masons. It's the oldest book we've ever found about Masonry. And it says at the end of this, it's called the Regis Poem. And the Regis Poem ends, Amen, Amen, so mote it be, so say we all for charity. Today, James M. Hayes Lodge is the epitome of carrying out that saying from 1390. Charity. We are one of the most charitable lodges that exist. And we trace that back to the Regis Poem. Well, history, what happens? In the Christian churches, you really had the Catholic Church, the Roman Catholic Church. Well, the Reformation came. You had Martin Luther, and you had, well, all of a sudden, guess what? There's no demand for these great big fancy cathedrals anymore, because the breakaway churches, the Protestant churches from the Catholic Church, they were much plainer and not as ornate. And so, guess what happened to the membership? It went down. And so, how did they fix the problem? Well, I'll tell you what they did. They accepted men into the fraternity, doctors, lawyers, bankers, royalty, all of those kind of folks. And they changed the name. And it became the Free and Accepted Masons. I skipped the part as though with the free part. They also, in those earlier days with the cathedrals, worked in what's called free stone. Free stone is a kind of a limestone sort of a thing, which you can sculpture. And if you think of the buildings of that era, where they had gargoyles and grotesques and stuff that was carved out of the buildings, well, that's free stone. So this is also one of the reasons why it's called Freemasons. So anyhow, We now are called the Free and Accepted Masons. James M. Hayes Lodge, number 331. Why 331? Well, Masonry came to Wisconsin, interestingly, not through the Great Lakes, but they came to Wisconsin from England and Scotland, Virginia, North Carolina, Tennessee, Missouri, up the western part where the Badgers originally were, that is, those miners in southwestern Wisconsin. And that's where the Masonry really got started. Mineral Point Lodge was started by a lodge in Missouri. And when it became a Wisconsin lodge, we had three initial lodges. We had Mineral Point, we had Melody, number 2 in Platteville, and number 3, which was Milwaukee, later Kilburn, number 3. And so, Mineral Point 1, Melody and Platteville 2, 3 Milwaukee, and they formed the Grand Lodge of Wisconsin in 1843. 5 years before Wisconsin became a state. So, you move along and you get these different, Hayes Lodge gets started, and it's number 331. Now today, we have had a lot of consolidations. In fact, if you read your history, we had another lodge that consolidated with James M. Hayes Lodge, namely Hiram Sawyer Lodge, back around, 1980 or so. And if you look at the list of the past masters of Hayes Lodge, up until that time, you'll see the names of 2 men who were master. Why? Because when we consolidated Hayes and Sawyer, we made the decision that all of Sawyer's history was going to be part of our history. And we were consolidated. And we frankly treated all of those guys from Sawyer as our guys. I don't know that we have any left at the lodge from who go back to that time. Oh, why am I talking? I tell you why I'm talking. Bob Skaradzinski calls me a couple weeks ago. He says, Al, he said, we can't get the Grand Master. He's busy. And all the Grand Lodge officers are busy. He says, there's 24 guys there we can't get. So I'm 25th on the list.
But number 1 in my heart, sir.
So that's why I'm here. I started my relationship with James M. Hayes Lodge when I was about 6 years old. Now that is 78 years ago. So, you know, if you think about it, if we're 100 years old now, and I've been around for 78 of those years, look, I know where all those things are buried. And why did I start at that age? Well, my dad was a member of James M. Hayes Lodge, and he used to take me to the Hayes Lodge picnics. And we had picnics in which they had a huge pile, about the size of one of these round tables, of sawdust. And the guys like Doc Hambach and Louis Kreslow and Chet Knutson all had rolls of brand new pennies, 50 cents. And they would unwrap them, throw them into sawdust. And all us little kids would get into the sawdust and get the pennies. So that's my first recollection. We used to have sports nights, and they'd bring in wrestling And they brought from Boys Tech High School the gymnastic team. And we had all kinds of, and various speakers. So then when I became, and at that time, you had to be 21 years old to join the Masons. And I asked my father, and he said, you know, why don't you ask somebody else? All right. I was active in the Order of D. Malay, which is a boys group at that time, 14 to 21, and I had a couple of advisors. A guy by the name of Harold Ham, another guy by the name of David Clark. They were members of Hayes Lodge. And I had this, they were mentors, and they were good guys. And I said, I'd like to join your lodge. Well, they said, we're at Hayes. I said, that's where my dad's a member. And he told me to get somebody else. So they were my guys who signed my petition. I was a master, I guess, some 52 years ago, because when I was master for 50 years, my buddy Skaradzinski, he let me preside over a meeting at a lodge. And he let me open and he let me close. And he sat there because he wasn't too sure whether I still remembered how to do this stuff. Because at my age, you know, that memory is not always so good. Well, over the years, as I reflect, we of course know that James M. Hayes was a banker. We were sponsored by and promoted by Lafayette Lodge number 265. They used to call that the Silk Stocking Lodge, because when a guy joined Lafayette Lodge, he was presented with silk stockings to wear with his tuxedo, which these guys all wore to the meetings. Well, there was a guy who was the senior grand warden, Fred Marion, and he pushed this to become a new Northside Lodge. And so in March of 23, we got a dispensation. That's an authority document from the Grand Master says you can meet. And so then in June, we were given the charter as a lodge. Albert Runkle, of course, was the first master. And so we had some great guys. 1939, Stu Honeck, later to become Attorney General of the state of Wisconsin, was master of Hayes Lodge. A few years later than that, we had a master, stood about this high, Henry Fink. I don't know if you guys remember Henry Fink, and anytime Henry was there, they'd say, Henry, stand up, stand up. And he'd stand up on a chair, and Henry would talk. We had a bunch of firefighters. Lake Lodge got all the National Guard guys and the coppers, but Hayes would get firefighters. We had Clary Ehlers and Hermie Holtz, both of whom were battalion chiefs.
Bill Stam.
Bill Stam, chief engineer, fire chief. Never was a master. Became a 33rd Scottish Rite Degree Mason. Was very active in the fraternity. But Bill Stam was a wonderful member of Hayes Lodge. A couple of other guys who were terrific. Bill Ames and Jack Pritchard. Now, these two guys were spark plugs. And they started and were instrumental in the Wisconsin Chicken Flying Association. You never heard of the Wisconsin Chicken Flying Association? Well, it was based at Hayes Lodge. And what you did, we had this picnic, and they would get a post with a mailbox, you know, the old kind of fashion mailbox where the front comes down. Well, they would carve out, cut open the back, and you would go, you'd line a bunch of these up, and you'd stuff a chicken, a live chicken, in the back, and then behind it, you had one of those bathroom plungers, you know? And then a guy would drop the front door, and you plunged the chicken, and whose chicken flew the furthest was the winner. And that's what we used to do for entertainment. Watch the chicken flying. Well, and the other thing these guys did was they got into the pig roasting. But I'll tell you, pig roasting is not a good thing. It's a bad word, right? So they come up with the German word, Spanferkel. So we used to run Spanferkels. And they've got these great big spits, and they put the pig on, and we'd have Spanferkel. And that was a great thing. We get hundreds of people would come to these things. And and they had a buddy who was with them. Never became master, but he was a cool guy. He was a weatherman on Channel 6, and his name was Ward Allen. And if you ever remember Ward Allen, he had a buddy, Albert Daly. Well, Ward ultimately lost his job because he was not a certified meteorologist. And he was a good-looking guy, he was a friendly guy, just a good Mason, but he didn't have the credential, so they ultimately replaced him, as do all the stations today, with qualified meteorologists. So, who have been the backbone? Well, no question, the masters that we've had over the years. But the real backbone, in my mind, are the lodge secretaries. And when I started as a kid, the secretary was a fellow by the name of Joe Schaffer. And then Joe was followed for some 17 years, by George Zatinik. And then George, we had a guy, Ralph Lefty Templeman. 49 years he guided our lodge. I was so close to Ralph Templeman that my daughter married his son. And so Lefty passed on here a couple of years ago. And Barry Axelrod. I think Barry was just a terrific secretary. He started organizing things, and I tell you, our current secretary, Jim, that guy is a born salesman. Sold me the siding, the roofing, the gutters on my house. That's what he does. But he is responsible for some of this increase that the worshipful master told us about. And I asked the master what things. Well, he says a year ago we had 60 members. Today we got 75. So I think, along with our master, and you gave my speech, because what's great about this place isn't what happened in the past. Oh, that was wonderful. But I tell you, Hayes Lodge, it's the future. It's these guys who have now come, and the new members, and apparently, at least if you believe the master, they are enthusiastic, they have leadership ability, and he's looking forward to the day when they're going to be all the officers and we're not gonna just have the old timers. I think that's about all I really have to say. If anybody wants me to answer any questions, I'll be happy. Bob.
I don't want to make everybody wait longer, but I so enjoyed when you told me how you got your law degree.
How I got my law degree?
Could you,
Well, first of all, I was at Marquette University, and I was in a business school, and I saw an ad, and it said, after 3 years of business school, I could apply to law school. So I went and I interviewed with a Jesuit, and a good father said, well, he says, you got good marks. He says, you don't have any money. He says, you qualify for St. Thomas More scholarship. And I said, well, Father, and these were the days now in the, well, I guess the 60, 62, 63. And he said, we think you qualify. I said, I'm joining the Masons. And there was, the relationship between the Roman Catholic Church and the Masons was a little tight, I will tell you. Well, it really wasn't tight.
That was a wife.
And anyhow, yeah.
Moses split the river.
And he said, "You're gonna join the Masons, huh?" He said, well, he says, maybe we'll get you to join our church someday. And they gave me a 1 year St. Thomas More full ride to law school.
Wow.
The Jesuits did, renewable if I had good grades. And they renewed it for my second year, and they renewed it for my third year. So I have since, I will tell you, one of the first things I did was to make contributions to Marquette University, to pay them back. But those Jesuits are the guys who put me through Marquette Law School. And spent 42 years with the same law firm. I never had the ambition, so I just stayed, became a partner. I did okay. But, why am I a Dousman? Well, December 6th, I went to a funeral. I'm taking the garbage carts out to my house. I fall on the sidewalk. It was raining. I got leather shoes on and with leather soles. I fall and I break my back.
Oh.
The eighth vertebrae, which is sort of in the middle, broke, and they took me to the hospital. And a couple days later, they fused. So they fused 7, 8, 9, and 10. So I gave up pole vaulting. Speaking of pole vaulting, there's this guy at the Olympics, you know, big tall guy, and he got this big long pole, and he's walking around. The guy comes up to him and he says, "You a pole vaulter?" The guy says, "Mine. I'm Deutsch. How you know my first name is Walter?" Now, in German, Walter is pronounced Walter. Anything else I can help you with?
I think I'll stop there.
Thank you very much.